completed 2 circuits with a stone cold flat passenger rear. This car handles real well with a stone cold flat tire. A lower profile tire will do that for you. Didn't have to be the best tire. These are used tires from the local shop. If you got a big old balloon tire, what will happen is it will fold over. You can skip the rim off the tire, all kinds of shit. Oddly enough, though, those big truck tires, they hold on to the bead. Like a BFG AT, 10 ply, you can air those down to 3 PSI and still drive. Now, you won't want to go taking any corners at 70 miles per hour, but they'll stay on the bead. I like to schedule my emergencies for Wednesday. That's emergency day. 3, 4, 5 of them, knock them all out. Emergencies start around midnight on Tuesday, and they'll finish around midnight on Wednesday. That's today. Who's honking? Somebody's honking. Alright, pause. I do believe the minivan behind me is honking. So I'm tailgating a Lexus in the fast lane going down the windies. Maybe the minivan was honking at the truck because the truck got into his lane, something like that. I doubt he's honking at me. Whoa, here we go. Fucking dead stop again, dude. I'm gonna fucking blow a fuse, dude. Oh my god. I've tried leaving it all different times, dude. Oh, I almost took the one today. I refuse to look ahead on maps. The highways need to be clear. Alright, we're fucked on the highway again. That's alright. It'll just trigger change. So 9:45 at night last night, I'm still sitting on the side of the road, typing away on my phone, and I don't know, I get home at 10 o'clock, and wife and kid are obviously off to bed. My wife will wait up for me, but by that time, how much is there to say? I had a friend call me up who said, we got a busted laptop and we need it running. Can you help? Yeah, I can fix a busted laptop. Laptops can bust from dropping. That's a physical fix. Sometimes you need to reseat the monitor connector, replace the hard drive with an SSD, things like that. But this one just crapped out. So the way you manage that is you gotta have another laptop. You gotta have a laptop to fix a laptop. You go on the old interwebs and you download something called Rufus. R-U-F-U-S, Rufus. It's been around forever. It's best practice, industry standard. Everybody fucking uses it. Just some private webpage where you can fucking download it. It's always free. If anyone tries to charge you for Rufus, you're in the wrong spot. Very small program, downloads really quick, and asks you a few simple questions. It'll start off with, is this the thumb drive you want to format and turn into a bootable drive? So you'll need to have found a thumb drive of at least 2 gigabytes, and the faster the better. Really, I can't emphasize that enough. You do not want to use your mom's old thumb drive from 1995, dude. Something, if it's a regular USB drive, make sure it's at least blue at the tip, and if you've got USB ports on your computer, try to pick one with the SS on it, you know, like a faster port. These days you can get USB-C thumb drives. Go ahead and try that. The difference when you buy a thumb drive is, of course, the available memory, but how fast you can read and write from that will dictate how long this activity takes. I grabbed some old SanDisk. I always have a SanDisk 32 around. That's 32 gigabytes, 32 billion bytes, not bits. Transfer speeds are measured in bits, and capacity and storage is measured in bytes. It confuses people. Small b, big B. So I checked it, and there's nothing on there. There's probably stuff on there, but I'm fucking over it, dude. I'm over digging through old fucking thumb drives. And so I said, go ahead. There's a thumb drive in there. You have permission to format it. And they said, well, what would you like me to put on there? let's do Ubuntu. So you cruise over to the Ubuntu website. They'll give you a download. You can get a smaller one. It's like 6 gigs. If you have the exact chipset, you can get a smaller one. But if you just want one that generically works, it's like 6 gigabytes. Downloaded that at about 420 megabits per second. You can divide 6 billion by 420 million, and you would say that should go pretty quick. It takes longer than that. A couple minutes. So now you've got an image. If it's a Microsoft image, and it was originally a Microsoft machine, you can go into BIOS and fish out the original factory password. If it was originally a Microsoft machine and you want to make it an Ubuntu machine, you just do it. You have power cycle with a target laptop and see what it will or will not do. If it will try to start, you just start running your finger from F1 to F12 and back again. One of those will kick you into something called BIOS. That's a very, very limited bootstrap area where you look at your fan speed and your core temperature and how much memory you've got. You can run a memory test and see, if you've got a bad sector of memory. You can set the boot order. You can set the, like legacy versus UEIF or whatever. You either know how to do it or you don't. So you get in there and you tell it. Next time you start up, you're going to boot to the USB. And it doesn't really matter because you can bump out anyways. But back in the day, you used to start a machine fresh with a CD or a DVD. Every laptop had a tray. And that's how you would boot fresh. It didn't matter whether you had a key or not. You could still install the OS. For that, you'd have to install like via fucking floppy disks, dude. It was brutal. And you'd have to start, don't get me started on it, dude. Forget it. Never happened. You boot from USB these days. And you need a couple terabytes. And you make a bootable image. So this is the way you format the thumb drive to be bootable. There's a couple ways to do it. There's like the normal modern way, and if that doesn't work, there's another way that's more friendly. So you tell Rufus to put the image on the USB thumb drive, and you have a few selections you can make. Say go. It'll default to all the most likely to succeed. I sometimes change those. Depending on how fast your thumb drive is, it will start writing an image. Maybe it'll take 10 minutes. All depends on how fast your thumb drive is. Now you've got magic. It'll say it's done. You can close all that shit out. You've got an operating system on a thumb drive. You can now take that to any personal PC and boot the PC. All right. Not in the PC's OS. You boot the PC and the OS on the thumb drive. And depending on the situation, it moves slow, but you can mount other drives and you can gain low-level access if you need to recover things. If you really need to recover things, there's other tools I paid for in the past that they just scan the hard disk at the bit level and they do pattern matching, and they'll extract for you lost sectors which are no longer pointed to, or things which have been deleted which weren't wiped. So if you had all your family photos on the desktop and somebody drug them into the recycle bin, and then somebody else emptied the recycle bin, if you want to get those pictures back, if nothing's happened, they're still there. You can go get them. Anyhow, I went to this busted laptop and stuck the thumb drive in there and booted it, and then started tapping F12. And you can click. Sometimes it's F2, sometimes it's F5, sometimes it's F12. Doesn't matter. Just run your finger along those fucking buttons. One of the buttons will take you into BIOS, and one of the buttons will allow you to directly edit the boot order on the fly. You say boot from USB. take a little longer than normal, and it will boot up. And it knows what to do. It says, whoa, hey, we're here. We're running. Do you want to completely fucking destroy where we're at and install a new operating system? You go, yeah, sure. You answer a few questions like, what's your time zone? And do you have any special needs? And do you want me to install third-party drivers? And you hit go. Now, the operating system in the old days never had the drivers. So if you did something like this, you'd end up with no audio, almost no mouse, sometimes no keyboard, no monitor, or the monitor would be in like 256, dude. And you'd have, you'd have to go in and manually install the drivers for your chipset, for your audio, for your Wi-Fi, for fucking everything. It's brutal, dude. Brutal. Modern operating systems pretty much have this covered. You can assume that if you install something fresh, that your keyboard and mouse and monitor will work, and that you will have network and Wi-Fi, Bluetooth probably. Now, in Windows, you go Device Manager, and you go and you look at what doesn't have a driver. So if you have an advanced graphics card, you might need to install a specific driver for that, or you might get better performance if you do. If you have an advanced audio driver, advanced audio in there, like some kind of special processor, install a driver for that. If you have Bluetooth, you might need to install a driver for that. If you've got a special USB that's really high speed, you might get better performance if you install a driver for that kind of shit. But basically, you get the OS in there, pick a password, and go for it. Wipe the dust off of it and hand it back. So this is the case where you've had a corrupted image for whatever reason, dude. It happens. You can always recover. I mean, I've recovered a lot of operating systems. In the worst case, so at the lowest level, you pull the fucking platter and you send it to someone who fucking bit by bit tries to recover it. And coming up from that, you run a recovery yourself, which is more likely to succeed. If you can get the platter spinning, you can get the data off of it. If the platter is crashing and you hear it, you might have to do things like literally change out the fucking spindle in your hard drive. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about, hardcore IT support. Pull the platter from your laptop hard drive and stick it in a different one, on a different spindle, and try to get it fucking reading. You'll do whatever you have to. Coming up from there, if you have a spinning, if you have an SSD or a spinning platter that's working, and you just had a corruption, there's corruptions of your file system, and there's just corruptions of your just a few lines of code in the beginning of your OS, which just tell it to start. So there's all kinds of terminal shit you can do. There's 1,001 guys in India who you can look up on YouTube, and they'll let you look over their shoulder while they do it. They're the fucking masters of salvaging computers, dude. Indian dudes, they're real good at fixing computers, dude. I have fucking so many times just searched YouTube and finally found somebody, and it's like, you have this problem? Watch over my shoulder. And then you fucking running all kinds of commands and pulling all kinds of fucking shit, and all of a sudden, it starts working again. So usually I found that if you're trying to salvage the OS, it's probably all fuckered anyways. And what you really want is just your personal files. You got documents and pictures and videos and stuff. That's usually all anyone wants. They usually don't even understand that programs are just installed with a key and you can get those again. There's all that backing up on the cloud shit, dude. Fuck that, dude. So worked till pretty late on that because it took longer than I expected. You know how it goes. Chose a slow thumb drive and chose a slow USB port. Didn't know the particular BIOS settings for that machine. when you're out of practice, it takes a couple hours. So I got that all working. And emergency 1 cleared, 2 a.m. Next emergency was fish floating in the pond upside down. Multiple fish. If it's one fish, you figure they got into the pump or something. But it had multiple fish floating upside down in the pond, which is strange. That indicates like a lack of oxygen, something like that. I had a high flow pump moving the water, which is changing over the surface area, but I didn't have it going over the fountain. So I rerouted that to cause the water to shoot 1.5 meters in the air and then trickle down a high surface area, which you grab the water and you lay it out flat and you have it exposed to air and you have it falling and splashing and shit. It aerates the water. If there was a problem with that, it will help. I always pour a little bit of chlorine neutralizer in there at the same time. It has two things. One, it neutralizes any chlorine, which will definitely turn the fish upside down. So hose water will kill goldfish. You have to neutralize the chlorine. It also has some goop in there that's, if the fish have like irritated skin, it will goober their skin and make them slippery again. That was the second emergency. Third emergency was, I really was rolling on a flat passenger rear. Went to the first gas station because, of course, I'm not keeping my hand pump with me. My little electric, that's with another car. So the first person didn't mean to honk at me, they say. I don't know. So the first gas station, you don't have to pay $1.75 at these gas stations. You can go inside and just ask them to turn on the pump. He turned it on, but a car uses a Schrader valve, and this pump, someone had like stolen the fitting off the end. It was so fucking lame, and it wasn't depressing the Schrader valve, and it wasn't making a gasket connection. So there's a tip on an airline that makes a basic light O-ring connection, and it depresses your Schrader valve, and it's just a system that works. And without that, you can still fill the tire, but it's difficult. So I walked away from that and went to the second gas station. Now, gas stations are notorious for having fucked up air compressors. Like they're in the old days, there was just a fucking air hook in it, and it was great. Then they started charging for it, and then California started saying you can only charge for it if someone's not getting gas. If they are getting gas and fueling up, you have to give them air, because people just started driving around on flat tires. So now there's these fucking boxes everywhere, and all of them are in a fucking poor state of service, broken and fucking otherwise fucked. So you get to the second one, and it does have the ability to read pressure, and it does have the appropriate mate to the Schrader valve, but it's just spitting water. The water separator wasn't being serviced, so fucking put a shot glass of water into my tire, I'm certain it just isn't helping. So watch for that. If there is water in the line, you can blow off the bulk of it. But I was in a hurry. So I eyeballed my tires, and I could see that my passenger rear was just flat as a dog. It wouldn't even register on the chuck. So I filled it up for about 30 seconds and saw 10 psi, and I filled it up for 30 seconds and saw 20 psi and 30 psi, and took it up to 37 or 38 psi, and then I proceeded to find the nail in my passenger rear tire. One, possibly more. So I do keep a patch kit in the back of my car, though I did clean out my fucking trunk the other day in a fit of fucking cleaning. So if I don't have a tire patch kit in my trunk, there'll be one at all the different spots we stop. A tire patch kit consists of 4 things. You've got a reamer, which is nothing but a sharp point that is like knurled, that's rough, like a file, and you're going to use that to rough the hole out and bring it to a standard size, make it ready for gluing. And you're going to have a press, which is nothing but a straight piece of metal with a fork at the end, And in that fork, you're going to put a little worm of rubber. All right. So the third thing that the kit will have is a set of rubber worms, big ones and small ones. If you got an SUV or a big truck, use a big one. If you got a passenger car, use a small one. Smaller is better because you'll get less imbalance in your tire. Depends how big the fucking hole is. So the hole's usually small. So the small one's fine. Same reamer for both. The fourth thing you'll find is some rubber cement. You take off the cap, flip it over, puncture it, and now you got some goober. So you want to line everything up before you start, and it's way easier if you got air in the tire. You're gonna get a worm out, and you're gonna slide it onto the pusher. You'll know which one that is, the one with the fork, and slippery it all up with rubber cement. Now don't skip that step. Some kits don't have the rubber cement. Now you got to understand that the rubber cement serves two purposes. On the way in, it serves as a fucking lubricant, so it makes it much easier to punch the rubber into the tire. All right, and then on the way out, it also lubricates and allows the punch tool to slide out more easily without catching. I've never had one pull back out once I put it in. It's a good design. You can do it without rubber cement, but then if you let it sit there for a while, the rubber cement cures, and it acts to help seal and hold the plug in place. So whatever the nail is that's in there, you grab whatever you have and you'll pry it out. Don't pry it all the way out. Pry it out till it's just, halfway out. And be ready. And on the front tires, it's much easier because you can turn the wheel and then get it out, where it's easy to work on. On a rear tire, you're gonna have to work at just the right angle. So I usually like to set it to say 7 o'clock or something like that, and service it from the back, kind of aiming down, because that's where you can get in the best. So you have to roll the car forwards and backwards, and you already did this, so that the nail is positioned in a spot which is convenient to plug. So you'll pry that nail out of there and immediately jam back at it with the reamer. So if it has air in it, it's going to start pissing loud and fast, and so you'll plug that with the reamer and go in and out, in and out, in and out a few times, 3 or 5 times, and rough it and leave that reamer in there. Now on the other hand, you got that fucking worm ready to go, so you're gonna pull out the reamer and then punch the fucking worm in there right away. And I go about halfway down the worm. So say the worm's this long and it's folded in half, so I put it in about that far. So half the worm's in the tire and half the worm's fucking hanging out. Just make sure there's some tails. You don't push it all the way in. It wouldn't do anything. Just make sure there's some tails of the worm hanging out. More is probably better, because that's what you're going to cut off. And as soon as you have it in there halfway, you immediately pull the fucking tool back out while it's still slippery, and the tire will be patched. You can leave it like that, or you can take a blade and cut the excess rubber off that's hanging out. It's going to rub off anyways, but it's better practice to cut. If you have a whole bunch of rubber hanging out, to cut that off, get it down level 2 or below the tread, and it will eventually it's all going to smush in there, and there's a lot of fucking pressure on a tire. 36 psi, and then there's incredible rotational force, and there's heat. They'll set nice. Then you got to go find an air chuck and fill back up. 36 is always a safe number to fill a tire up to on the car. On a bike, could be a huge range from 20 psi to 90 psi. Usually closer to these days 50 psi on a lot of bikes. So you fill your tire back up to whatever the tire says it should be filled up to, and that depends on whether it's hot or cold. There's a range in there. I've driven on tires with 120 psi in them, long distances, and I've driven on tires with 0 psi in them. There's a lot of margin on a tire. It's a well understood technology. Ooh, it's hot. So I got through that emergency, and then I remembered that we'd gone to a gas station not that long ago and found that we were low on oil, and they didn't have any oil for sale there, and we'd done another 10 trips over the hill, so I bought whatever synthetic oil was available. This was 5 weight 20, which is not my weight, but I don't care. All I care is that it's synthetic. Checked my oil and it was below the low point. So that's not empty on oil, means that's called a dry stick. If you pull a dry stick up, you're fucking up. You need 2 quarts of oil at least. If you pull up a stick that's just indicating below the ideal area, you're in the range of a half quart or a quart. So I just commit to a quart. You get a paper funnel, pour it in there, throw that shit away, check it. Then I'm back up above, like I'll slightly overfill. Depends on whether it's hot or cold. There's a lot of margin in there. Doesn't fucking matter, give or take a half a quart of oil. Anyone who claims it has to be exactly perfectly perfect is fucking not understanding the machine. Here we are, coming up on the road work. Now yesterday, to the credit of Caltrans, the road work was going on the side of the road, and they were not blocking a lane. And the backup, which wasn't as severe as days past, but it was still a fucking nuisance, was rubbernecker backup. People driving slow and rubbernecking. So, I mean, yeah, you should drive slow by the cones, but let's get on down the road. We don't need to drive 12 miles per hour by the cones, Like, if you can drive 25 by a school, you can drive 25 by the cones. How about 35? If you don't see any humans, how about 55? Then when you see humans, slow it down a little. If they don't have a posted speed limit, then the speed limit is the actual speed limit. If they don't say construction zone 35 or something like that, then the speed limit's 65 miles per hour. So over here I've counted about 200 cones. It's like they're doing the same shit they were. They just got a crew out here who's got the whole job. There's long patches where they haven't cleared it. They're painting the stubs with green paint. Oh, great. There was nobody out there. Okay, so there was a mile of cones and no humans. So my instinct was correct to be out a little bit later. But, what is it, lunchtime? Comida? Whatever. Well, we just lost 20 minutes of our life because someone laid a mile worth of cones out and wasn't doing anything. Here I was trying to give them a more fair shake today. Say, yeah, I saw them working, but they were on the side of the road. Nobody, nothing. Just fucking traffic. So that's the fault of the drivers, slowing down too much. They must not have some place to be. We'll go a different way today. It's hot. Try not to blow the fan on the back of the phone because it causes it to overheat. The problem with this spot right here is that the phone overheats. It's in the sun. That's why I haven't settled any of those phone holders, because they hold the phone in the fucking sunlight and it overheats. If I'm uploading. So we got the out of oil emergency solved, and we got the blown tire temporarily mitigated. We got the asphyxiating fish possibly mitigated. We got the laptop fixed. It's not even lunchtime yet. video today of a 74-year-old man saying, listen, dude, you're doing it wrong. Don't be like me. Don't be sorry. You should go watch it. Now, we might need to go find a Starbucks. Because since this is Wednesday, it's customary on Wednesday to have to urgently take a shit on the side of the road. That's one of my favorite things to do. Not necessarily take a shit on the road, but to manage that emergency. Because that's one of the most core and simple human emergencies. If you're about to shit your pants, you could choose to do so. On one occasion, before exploding in the McDonald's bathroom, that's where I like to go. A friend of mine who's a hippie, real true blue hippie, like taking trips to the Amazon hippie, explained to me that you do not eat at McDonald's. You shit at McDonald's. So, if you find yourself in a place of desperation, you go to McDonald's, you walk up to the counter, you buy the cheapest thing they have, you say, thank you, what's the bathroom code? If it's a bad part of town, make sure the bathroom doesn't have a sign on it before you do that, because oftentimes they just close the bathroom. Because people will go in there and fuck it all up, or be doing drugs in there, or they'll be sleeping in there, they'll try to move in, dude. People try to fucking move into the McDonald's bathroom, dude, I'm telling you. Christ. So go to a McDonald's bathroom in a nicer part of town. But this one time I almost shit my pants on the way to McDonald's. I was on a real fucking adventure. Fucking living on this by the seat of my pants, dude. And I was eating nothing but protein bars and drinking nothing but Ensure. And my body was not happy with that. Normally I like in the mornings to drink coffee and take a shit. It's a fine thing to do in the morning. That's what you do if you're a real red-blooded American. You drink a real stiff cup of coffee, and you put cream and sugar in there, and you wait. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe an hour, who knows? And all of a sudden, dude, it is time to do your business. And if you travel a lot on airplanes, or you travel a lot by road, you know that you can't be bumping around if you're not in control of your fucking asshole. Alright? Some folks don't know this yet. You have to be in control of your asshole. You can't have it just all of a sudden say, oh no! This might happen to you when you're visiting India and you eat some bad fucking whatever on the side of the road, or Mexico, or whatever. You get the fucking Bali belly, you get the fucking, right? That might happen, that's different. I'm talking about in your regular goings-on of business. So it's best to take a shit in the morning. Maybe on the weekend, 2 or 3. Anyways, here I find myself on the road early in the morning needing to take a shit. This was another time. McDonald's was open, and I was racing for that place. And I was still like, this was a true blue emergency. Like, windows down, dude, fucking horn honking, weaving emergency. And I was still like a mile away. And by God, I wasn't going to make it. I had lost control of the situation. I got to such a point of desperation that I reached into the car behind me and grabbed a piece of cardboard, slipped that under my butt. I had cloth seats at the time. I wasn't about to soil my cloth seats. Slipped it under my butt and kept driving for McDonald's. I got there, dude, and I got a parking spot right out the doors, right as this man and his son were pulling up. I remember, dude, clear as day. And I was at the point of bumping people out of the way and stuff. I had a fucking emergency. I was not being polite. And this guy is trying to hold the door for his son, and I'm like scooting by him. And I made some kind of terrible comment like, don't eat the food here. And I went running for the fucking bathroom, where there was one or two things going to happen. either that bathroom was available or I was gonna shit my pants at McDonald's. Alright? You ever been there? If you haven't, then you probably haven't lived as much life as you should have. I was either going to find an available stall or I was going to shit my pants at McDonald's. Okay? And this was going to be a bad one. This wasn't going to be like a nice log, like you drop into the toilet and splash back and tickle your butt. But I'm talking about a terrible, terrible fucking mess. Shit's for real, bro. So I pushed the door open, and by God, there was a urinal and a stall, and it was open. And I fucking like banged through the stall door and yanked down my pants. And as I'm heading, as my ass is aiming into the toilet, just a stream. I won't get into the details now. Which is like, at the end of the day, no shit on me, no shit on the fucking walls, no shit on the toilet, no shit on the floor. Made it. That's as close to the wire as you can get. Can't take it any closer than that. Anyways, we might replay that today. A lot of it's in your mind. You can control what your guts are doing. And as you get older, you're able to hold off for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour or two. Finding that you're constantly in a state of emergency, you need to evaluate your situation. What's your stress level? What's your diet? What's your exercise? How much water are you drinking? Shit like that. If you ever want health advice, I've always found that if it's on the early onset, you can go to veterans. Most of them know how to solve early onset issues, spot things like dehydration, excessive stress, or whatever. They're trained on that. Watch, try it. Now, if it's later onset, like you've already had the problem for a few months, you go to a hippie. And they'll help do things like rebalance your fucking gut. They'll give you a bunch of enzymes or a bunch of fucking bisomes or a bunch of fucking flora or whatever, dude. They'll have you eat some weird fucking stuff. And then in a few days, your system will come back into balance. Don't go to any medical doctors. They'll just make it worse, dude. They'll do things like zonk all the bugs in your stomach, dude. They'll kill all the good bugs, trying to kill the bad bugs. Medical doctors in the Western, like they're good at things like surgeries and apparently making highly addictive opiates available, but they're not so great at basic home remedies, which we've used for thousands of years, at least 5,000 years. That's just when we started writing about it. Try more like 10,000 years. Animals know which plants to eat. So it's Emergency Wednesday. Surrounded by Tesla automobiles. I'm really hoping someone will have thrashed their automobile. If you know someone with a Tesla, a nicer one, like a P90D. I don't think they had P100Ds back in the early days. Something like a 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like a P85D. Something like that brown one, huh? But they always kept it outside, and they always had a dog in the car, and they always smoked Camel cigarettes, and they're always spilling coffee and drinks in there, and they never took it in like they were supposed to for any service, and it's had like a fogged headlight or a fogged tail light since the fucking for like 5 years, and the charge door is ripped off, and along the way they got a salvage title, and the front windshield's cracked, and The interior is all fucking ratted up, dude. Like they've been sitting down with shit in their back pocket, poking holes in the seat. Like they got the white seats and then fucking went on a mudslide and then sat in the seats and rubbed it in. You know? It's got a little bit of degraded range and high miles. If it's an overall embarrassing vehicle, maybe the fucking infotainment doesn't even work. You have to like look at it on your phone, or the door handles, they don't work and they never got them fixed. You have to climb in through the passenger door. Maybe all 4 tires are bald and all 4 rims are completely curved to the point where they might need to be replaced. You could be rolling on steelies. Maybe the Tesla badges are pried off. Maybe it's covered in bumper stickers about how they hate Elon. Maybe it's got a dead 12-volt starting battery, the accessory battery. Maybe it's been sitting for 2 years. Maybe it's got tickets on it or a questionable title. You know, like it was transferred a couple times but not completed. Sometimes people will buy a car and then they don't realize they have to pay the tax. They'll just never do the paperwork. Just drive it and park it, and they get pulled over again. Maybe it's had its battery repaired by a shade tree mechanic, or it's got a whine in the transmission. Maybe it was parked with the windows down in a rainstorm. Maybe it was parked with a dog in there and the dog pissed all over the floor. I don't know and I don't care. But that's the kind of car I want. I would really appreciate it if it had a racing stripe up the driver's side of the car, prominent from the gas station pole. Even better if it had a different colored door or frunk or trunk. I love it when a car is put together from pieces of other cars that are different color. I wouldn't mind if it had mold growing inside. Green mold, brown mold, black mold. Mold is mold. I know how to deal with it. You want to get one that bad? We're starting to talk about like $5,000. And it can't go any lower just because you could part it out at that rate and actually profit. My goal is to restore it, not to original condition or to fine condition, to sufficiently good condition to drive me to work. For $10,000, I'm expecting something a little better. You know, I don't want an actual fucking immediate problem with the car. I want to start driving it for $10,000. For $15,000, I expect a nice car. Just someone wants to get rid of it. For $20,000, I expect a fine automobile. Clean, in good shape, with free supercharging, some tread on the tires, no major accidents. I mean, I'll buy a car that's dragging the front wheel sideways. If it will drive, I'll drive it out of there. Or I'll drive it down the street and drive it up onto a flatbed and drive it home and see if my buddy will help me straighten it out. We'll hook a chain on the bed part in the back of his truck and he takes off that way. See how it bends. For $25,000, I would expect glitz and glamour. Now, mind you, these are $75,000, $100,000 automobiles. People started out at like $64,000, and then there's all kinds of fucking upgrades and transfer fees and taxes. They've been paying full coverage insurance the whole time, and they've probably had to pay to get some stuff fixed, and they're putting expensive tires on it. So, you know, even if they thought they got one for 65, they got it in there for like 75. Then they fucking probably spent $100,000 on the thing, charging it up, fixing the door handles and fixing the charge port door and, taking it in for warranty and then having to get a rental car, whatever. People are into it for 100 G's. And I want it for 20. 21. Lucky 21. I'm looking for a Tesla that someone's ashamed of because of the way they treated the car, or because of their politics. One headlight can be out. One headlight can be missing, for all I care. The rear bumper can be zip tied on. The front bumper can be duct taped on. It can have no front bumper. I don't care if there's a milkshake, a strawberry milkshake, poured all over the dashboard and down the front of the infotainment, all in the cracks. I'm expecting that there were not one, but 2 or 3 kids in the back seat spilling chocolate milk and yogurt and graham cracker crumbs into the cracks. When I first pull those seatbelts up, I'm expecting to find plastic army soldiers smushed together in Play-Doh with boogers and stuff. The whole fucking interior of the car is coming out while I trace the wires and convert it over to a vehicle to grid source. All the original Tesla plans had bidirectional capabilities. V2G. But to make something like that work, you gotta let the profiteers in the middle. And they know that it's not time to release that yet. You can get everybody to buy it all up, and later on you can release that as a new thing you charge for. Ford Lightning got the closest with a 240 generator inverter on it. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having the equivalent of a Xantrax 5 kW grid tie inverter in the back of the car. The hardware is already there. You just have to literally just a different run of the firmware. And make it so that your car can fire backwards through the charger and grid tie to the house. Yeah, I know the details. Don't you worry about it. I'm gonna do mine aftermarket. I'm just gonna tap the fucking positive and negative between the inverter and the battery. So when the car's in an on condition, I've got access to traction. I'm going to feed that into an industrial Chinese narrow range DC to AC box for starters. And I'll plug into that box a fucking level 2 charger, and then I'll be able to transfer energy out of one Tesla into another. That's where we'll start, vehicle to vehicle. All electric vehicles should be able to transfer fuel from vehicle to vehicle. All diesel trucks in the farm can do that sort of thing. I got the pump myself. Just pump fuel out of one car into the other. Gasoline cars is a little more hinky because they're trying to capture those vapors. But diesel sits easier. So I'm going to buy the best value, cheapest Tesla in the Bay Area, and you can suffer through it with me while we figure out all the fucking lifestyle changes which will be necessary. We're going to be running around looking for superchargers. I didn't want the free supercharging. In fact, I kind of put my nose up at it. But if I'm going to show you a good adventure, a big part of the EV lifestyle is running around trying to find a charger. And I won't enjoy doing that if I'm paying like top dollar at the nozzle. So I'll give you a better show. I'll get like, before I would have taken a newer model, a performance Tesla without supercharging for the same price. But now I'm going to choose to take something that has free supercharging, and maybe it's not performance, and maybe it's an older model, right? So that I can have a better experience with you, showing you how to do it, how to find available charge stations. We'll install all the apps, dude. Go Charge, Charge America, Charge Point, Tesla, all of them, dude. We'll go all over the place. See what kind of hub's going on at the supercharger. I'll tell you one thing they need next to the supercharger is a restroom. I've been carrying a large stress load. No reason to stress about it. You can watch that video I linked from that old man. He'll explain it to you. I've already been through that cycle. It's true. Sometimes I enter the cycle again. The counter argument to his display is that you could choose to not be a provider, to be a weak man. You go right ahead. Check out this aviation museum over here. Maybe drag the kids. Hiller Aviation Museum. Hiller. That's a famous Air Force name. I remember being at Hiller Air Force Base. Tinker Air Force Base. All kinds of different Air Force bases. President wants to go to war, dude. What's he talking about? That's a man who doesn't have to fight. We got some radical change ahead. More radical than anything you've ever fucking seen or thought of. Dystopian transformation, dude. And it's gonna be what we make of it. It's up to us. The final straw will be how we choose to react. Like the other video I posted for you. It'll be how we choose to react. You can choose to fight, or you can choose to gain. I don't have my ring. There'll be gains to be had for those who are open-minded and... Is ingenuitive a word? Whole new sectors will open. New and interesting jobs. Hopefully they pay well. We're going to move one step farther from toil. Toil will be something you do, kind of like you drive like a Model T Ford. You'll do it just to show the kids, oh, this is what we used to do. The same will be true for risk taking. It will, like, I grew up in a time where risk taking was normal.